So Cindy and I have really been into watching a show during this lockdown. It's called Luther. It was on the BBC network for the better part of the last decade. And part of what makes it so interesting is that Luther is very much in this Sherlock Holmes mode. He's an English detective who's smarter than everyone else in the room. But the thread that continues to be woven through each season is that he sees the limitations of the system. He sees that there are people who don't get the punishment they deserve, who are able to get outside the system, and there is this internal struggle with the character. And we just finished up season 3, and in season 3 they're really explicit about this. At the end of the season, this vigilante rises up, and Luther has to catch him. It's a vigilante who's going after other violent criminals who the system had to let go because of some technicality. And what we see in this season is that Luther has this continual struggle between, can he get his hands dirty without becoming dirty himself? Are there things that he can do that he knows that are wrong, but that will ultimately bring a better outcome? And is that okay? Can he justify that ethically and morally? And in the Bible, we see just one time where it appears that God has remorse for what he does, and that's right after the flood. After the flood, Noah and his family leave the ark. Noah puts a burnt offering on the altar, and we read these words. "That the Lord smelled the pleasing scent, and the Lord thought to himself, I will not curse the fertile land anymore because of human beings, since the ideas of the human mind are evil from their youth. I will never again destroy every living thing as I have done. As long as the earth exists, seed time and harvest, cold and hot, summer and autumn, day and night, they will not cease." Theologically, what we see in this story is that earth had become wholly corrupt. People were selfish and mean and violent, and God chose to destroy the world that would fix it. But as soon as Noah and his family walked off the ark, it became clear to God this didn't fix it. And we see in just a few verses later that Noah's family starts sinning. They're selfish and they're greedy and they do things they shouldn't. And the lesson for us as we read this is that not even God can defeat evil by being violent. Not even God can defeat evil by overpowering it. But that evil is defeated through love. Evil ultimately would be defeated by Jesus sacrificing himself on a cross just a couple thousand years later. And this brings us to a story that's been in our headlines with Ahmaud Arbery, who, depending on which story you read, either was perfectly innocent and running and was gunned down by two terrible racists. And these two terrible racists have been left unpunished by a system that's inherently racist. Or it was a big misunderstanding by a couple of guys who just loved their neighborhood and thought he was up to no good. But here's the thing. I don't know the state of their hearts. You don't know the state of their hearts. I don't know the state of the heart of the district attorney down there in Georgia. But what I know for sure is that it is not the Christian way to instigate an altercation while armed. It's just not. If not even God can defeat evil and wrongdoing in the world through violence, then we certainly can't either. the end of season 3 of Luther, the character who kind of stands in as the moral compass is killed by the vigilante. And I'm really interested to see, as Cindy and I move into season 4, what that does to our main character, Luther. The person who was there, who was telling him that the ends don't justify the means, that you have to do things correctly, that you have to be ethical, even if it's a longer, slower, harder road. What will this mean to the way that Luther behaves? And I think for us, as we think about the different struggles we have in our lives, sometimes there will be a temptation to want to overpower them. To say, well, if I just manipulate the situation, it may be wrong, but the outcome is right, so it's right. But the way of Christ is not one where the ends justify the means. The way of Christ is one where the means are every bit as important as the ends. If we fail to be Christian in achieving Christian ends, then we've still failed to be Christian. Jesus didn't drive the Romans all the way back to Italy. He died on their cross. The martyrs and the saints of the Christian tradition didn't enslave people into affirming the truths of Christianity. They died for them. The way of Jesus is always the way of submission. The way of Jesus is the way of not feeling like we can overpower our problems, that we can blow our problems away. But the way of Jesus is one where we love the other. It's where we sacrifice. And in our weakness, in our choice to be sacrificial, the power of God tabernacles and the kingdom is made known. So we've been in this pandemic for 2 months now. And we may be starting to feel like we just need to overpower this thing. Like we need to outthink it, out-strategize it. But I think the way of Christ is to continue to be faithful, continue to be flexible, continue to find ways to bless those who are hurting, continue to find ways to share the love of Jesus in all the ways we can with all the people we can. And I believe we can do it. And I believe if we do it, that the kingdom of God will be manifest before our very eyes. I love you. I'm praying for you. May we not give in to the temptation of believing that the ends justify the means. But may we live in such a way that we are holy and blameless, just like the Son of our Father in heaven.